Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the Versus Poetry. And today, our goal is to help give you some guidance in case you're interested in not just working on your writing, but you're actually trying to take your poetry into a business. One of the best ways to do that is to start creating your own poetry platform. So, today, we're going to be discussing some strategies, some techniques, and things you want to be considering online to start really becoming an authority and start growing your own poetry business. Thankfully, I'm not doing this alone. Today, we have some guidance joined over here by Christoph over at The Poet Life. Christoph, thank you so much for being with us today. So good to have you, sir.
Man, it's great to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yep. So one of the things you're doing a lot. Can you just speak to really quick? What are the social media platforms that you find to be most helpful right now for what you're doing?
For us, currently it's Instagram, and we really have not gotten a hold of TikTok as of yet. We've dibbled and dabbled in TikTok. I know it's necessary, but we're very strategic in our presentation, and we won't jump full into TikTok until we really fully understand how we can best present ourselves on TikTok. I know it's a different beast and it's a different
It is.
environment on TikTok, right? And there's some strategies to this. So I wanted to make sure that we don't just play with it. We do it correctly. So Instagram, Facebook through previous relationships and things of that nature.
Mhm.
But I don't know if artists know, but LinkedIn is definitely a very great platform for what we're trying to do. Because if you ask yourself as an artist, are you trying to be a professional artist? Then if so, that's where the professionals are. It's like the Facebook for professionals and CEOs and things of that nature. So LinkedIn is a strong one for sure.
Let's talk really quick about algorithms. That's great. You mentioned LinkedIn. If anyone's following any sort of like marketing people online, everyone's pushing LinkedIn right now because they say their organic reach, the ability to reach people right now for all forms, not just video, it could be written stuff as well.
Yeah.
Seems to be very strong with LinkedIn right now. How much of that are you seeing yourself?
I don't really focus too heavily on algorithm. It is just more so reps, if you will. It's the consistency and letting the algorithm do what it does. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to follow the algorithm and the trends and this, right? So it is committing to consistency and uh, determining what the frequency looks like for you, and how you can stay consistent with that frequency. But I just kind of study the platform for what it is. I know it's for professionals. And so because I'm a professional, that's where I need to be.
I really like that approach about not focusing too much on the algorithm because I think something that happens a lot is people get really hung up on specific views and follower numbers, and it's like you're kind of missing the point in a lot of ways
Yeah.
because this is a long-term play. The thing that, if you're recording like a podcast like what we're doing right now, in a lot of ways the podcast, it's not even about the podcast, it's about what you do with it afterwards. You shoot,
Exactly.
you have an hour-long conversation, so that become a bunch of 10-minute conversations that become a bunch of 5-minute things. And I think that's the same sort of thing with LinkedIn. It's just trying to start build your presence and things like that. uh how about for Instagram? What's kind of been your strategy there, or how is that differentiated from like LinkedIn? Just doing do a quick test. I know one of us is having internet issues. I don't know if it's Christoph or it's me. I'm gonna Christoph, if you can hear me, let me know in the private chat. One of the things that we have seen, for instance, just to touch on that last point that we just made about YouTube, is that with YouTube, again, so one of the things, and maybe you've seen the strategy on our own channel. So one of the things that we're doing with our streams is that, again, we're cutting them off into separate videos. small chunks. You're able to take a longer video and make it into shorts. You're able to make that into shorter videos that aren't like, if you're shooting like an hour long podcast, that can very quickly become something that's like a 5-minute video, a 10-minute video, and things like that. I think we got Christoph back.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me? Okay, cool. Had a question for you specifically about Instagram and Instagram strategy, if you can hear that, because we've been trying Instagram with limited success. It's not something we're pushed. We're just not consistent enough on Instagram to really see the things that I think some people are looking for. So if you had to give someone advice for functioning on Instagram, if someone's like starting a new Instagram page, what do you think would be some strategies to be considering to make that successful? Hey, Christoph, can you hear me okay? Check. Hey, can you hear me okay? Christoph, check, 1 2 1 2. Hey guys, we're gonna check some things on our end. I'm gonna chat with Christoph in the background. Give me 1 second.
Facts are important, but like emotional truth that poets get at is the most exciting and like maybe the most truthful.
When I read it in this space, when I bring it to this audience, why do I want to do that today, here, now? Something I think I'm doing a lot in my work is giving a certain amount to be able to see where this boat is going and where the waters are taking it, but not trying to paint the full landscape. Not only because I don't want to share it, but because I don't know if even I want to go there yet myself. So I'm wondering how you handle that, and if it's scary at any points for you, or how you deal with that scariness.
Yeah. Well, first, so do you feel that way about Cruel? God,
yeah. I mean, a very common reflection I get from my work is, people are like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I feel a lot of things. And that's kind of a lot of just my passion in art. Like, I don't always want to know exactly what's going on, but when I apply it personally, and I'm willing to approach what I'm willing to approach in the manner of which, or the manner and depth.
Okay. Hey, you got me good? Hey, can you hear me? Check, 1 2. Hey, can you hear okay? Nothing. I'm gonna check my audio again. Check, 1 2 1 2. Still having some issues. Cool.
So you can hear me now?
I can. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right. So I can see myself, but I can't see you.
Interesting. Can you hear me or no? Let's do this. So everyone, what I'm going to do, I'm going to restart our stream. Okay, we'll still be here. Check us back with us in about 2 minutes. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Facts are important, but like emotional truth that poets get at is the most exciting and like maybe the most truthful.
When I read it in this space, when I bring it to this audience, why do I want to do that today, here, now? Something I think I'm doing a lot in my work is giving a certain amount to be able to see where this boat is going and where the waters are taking it, but not trying to paint the full landscape. Not only because I don't want to share it, but because I don't know if even I want to go there yet myself. So I'm wondering how you handle that, and if it's scary at any points for you, or how you deal with that scariness.
Yeah. Well, first, so do you feel that way about Cruel? God,
yeah. I mean, a very common reflection I get from my work is, people are like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I feel a lot of things. And that's kind of a lot of just my passion in art. Like, I don't always want to know exactly what's going on, but when I apply it personally, and I'm willing to approach what I'm willing to approach in the manner of which, or the manner and depth in which I'm willing to go into it, you know?
Yeah.
And we talked about this too, it's a long game of poetry, right? Things I'm tapping into now with Cruel, I surely will keep writing about, and surely I hope that, not that I'll reveal more, but that I'll discover more.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I asked because I feel like I recognize that in the book, but there was an intentionality behind it. I'm thinking of a specific moment that I marked. This stood out to me when I was reading. You said, I offer a puzzle that will madden you, but your ego feeds differently. I liked that itself as an offering of the text as a puzzle and as an offering, because I think even if there is distance that you're feeling and some fears about sort of, is this text going far enough? I don't know. I think there's something useful in that navigation, and then you being honest about that navigation on the page. Right? I think poetry is exciting because it's poets thinking about how do we approximate different truths on the page. And I think poetry can do that in a way that no other genre can. The reason I stray away from nonfiction when I do stray away from it is because, facts are important, but like emotional truth that poets get at is the most exciting and like maybe the most truthful. But yeah, so for my manuscript for my book is called Bad Forecast. And it's about, it like circles around a tornado that was in my hometown in 2011. It was a very deadly, historic storm that the story and the narrative was picked up by the national news that entire summer. I was home that summer. My family's house was fine, but my aunt lost her home. Friends lost their homes, and one of my really close friends was killed. And I think I started writing that manuscript just because it felt sort of inescapable to write. I don't feel like I was particularly brave in approaching it. I think the sort of fractured, disheveled, tornadic feeling.
Okay. We're going to try again. Chris, can you hear me? Chris,
I can hear you. I think we're good.
Give me 1 sec. Oh, my volume's really low. Hang on. I know why it is. Okay. I think we good. All right. Cool. Can you hear me okay?
I think we're all set.
Cool. So one of the questions I left off, you talked a little bit about LinkedIn and your LinkedIn strategy. You mentioned that you feel like Instagram's kind of doing the thing for you. What is your approach to Instagram? Like when you're like making a post, when you're organizing things, what is the strategy that you're using right now?
So we have a social media team, and currently it's for the most part scheduling out. So we're not anxious and stressed out and frustrated with just life in general, trying to manage things in real time. So we try to schedule out our posting. But for the most part, we understand and know that Instagram is really no longer about photos as much as videos and reels. So it is chopping up long form content like our podcast. And when we go live at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time for our Poetry Business Challenges, I don't save those. We archive those and then chop those up to use for Reels content. And so we try to leverage Reels and videos as possible. So in regards to that type of algorithm and trending, we'll keep our ear to the streets, right, to find out, what we need to be doing at the moment, and we'll do that, but we just won't stress ourselves out about it.
You mentioned a team. How big is your team right now?
Social media wise, we have 2 currently, I think 2 and an intern. So in total 3.
Cool. How did you find these people, by the way?
Referral through connecting with other business owners who are doing well on their social media and just opening my mouth and asking. And that I think that is a piece of business that a lot of people miss. is they try to do it themselves and figure it out themselves and themselves. When if you connect yourself and build a circle around you of others who inspire you, who are also making some moves, then, and also those people not being gatekeepers and information hoarders, and are willing to share resources with you.
Has it been difficult just in terms of like even just retaining talent? Like how do you, when you're hiring someone or when you're bringing people in, what are some of the things that you're keeping in mind?
Well, when you're a small business, it's I won't put a stamp on it and claim it, but oftentimes there's turnover. I like to encourage my team to be ambitious, and sometimes to my detriment because they become ambitious and start their own thing, and then I just like people who are ambitious around me. And I don't necessarily work well with just doers. I work well with other visionaries because with the task that I hand to you, I would love for you to be the visionary for that task or for that department. So I don't have to still be the visionary for that particular department. I want to take my mind off of it. And then we just report back to each other to find out how well it's going, So it's, I'll be honest with you. I just started building a team earlier this year. So for the past 7 or 8 years, it's been me. So whatever you've seen go out there for the past 7, 8 years, it's literally been me from my cell phone. So now it's just time to scale and take things to the next level. But it's difficult. I tried it before and it didn't work out. I just think it wasn't time, but now it is.
So you say you've been doing this for about 8 years or so?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, since 2015 with the Poet Life. But even before then, I had a nonprofit called Fighting Cancer with Poetry. I've always been an entrepreneur, man, since I was super young, and now I teach my daughters the same. And I just believe that's the way to control how your life turns out.
That's what I try to tell. Like safety isn't safe. Like I know people get to the 9 to 5 and they're like, I have the job, but it's like new boss comes in, economy changes, things like that. One of my favorite quotes about bosses is, your boss is never going to pay you enough to live in the same neighborhood as you. And it's like,
oh, for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are probably thinking writing, poetry, okay, maybe business, fine. Hiring people to get poetry going. So like, can you walk us through a little bit of the steps you took to get ready to make that first hire, some assumptions in things that you think people need to know about that whole process?
Sure. I studied, I got on or I enrolled into YouTube University, and looked up whose or what role is the first person you should hire. And 2 roles came to be. They were an assistant, right, to all of the work that you've been doing that you now feel as though can and should be passed on so you can focus on scaling and growing the business, pass it on to an assistant, or an admin assistant. The second role would be an ops manager. But don't rush so fast to get both. Work with the assistant and let that assistant be somewhat the ops manager for the moment, right? And you all work in tandem. But as things start to flow, you can then get that ops manager And because that ops manager has more experience and knowledge to where they know how to run operations, right? And that assistant can simply be in the meetings with you with these clients and take notes, because when you're in that meeting with those clients, you want to make sure you want to be able to respond with knowledge. But if you're taking notes and trying to respond and listen and right, it's a little difficult. It's possible, obviously, but if you can have an assistant in that meeting with you, just jotting down the notes to where you don't have to think about that, it will be in the notes for afterwards. It's a beautiful thing. And for I think some months, it was just myself. I actually brought on an admin assistant and an operations manager somewhat around the same time, because at the beginning of this year, I knew that I was ready to fly, and with this new mindset of knowing what you have and how valuable what you have is, I was ready to go, and I put some money to the side to be prepared. Now, here's the thing: you obviously can't pay a salary starting out, so it's like you have to find someone that already has a 9 to 5, who already has their bills covered for the most part, and they're trying to kind of build their own little admin assistant business and their operations manager business, and you are adding value to them by being their case study and vice versa, right? So that's hard, but that's why it's so important to be connected with other business owners who may have found, right? So I basically asked a colleague of mine who also has a poetry business who he uses, or if he knows of anyone, and phone call, had an admin assistant that he uses, and we shared and used the same person, ops manager as well. And it's connection in relationships ultimately.
No surprises there. There's no
Right,
changing
because
that.
you're not going to find that on Indeed and expect them to, accept pay for what you have. It's just not going to happen.
Did you consider virtual? I mean, it's relatively common. People look at virtual assistants. Get your person in the Philippines or something like that. Is that something you looked into?
More than looked into it. I've had a virtual assistant as well, where she was my scheduler, who would take the lead list, the leads list, and start reaching out to them, but also DMing poets and people a script that a real natural script that sounds like, somebody was actually trying to talk to you, and spark up that conversation. And yeah, no, it's definitely beneficial. But the hard part is oftentimes the communication, because when you're trying to explain some things just through text, and the Zoom really isn't zooming like you want it to, it's a little difficult. So you kind of want to work with someone in the States, willing to even travel when there's an event and things of that nature. But there's definitely value in virtual assistants for sure.
You also mentioned you had an intern. Is your intern, if you're willing to discuss
that?
Yeah,
sure.
Is that a paid internship? Is that like a volunteer thing?
So it is value for value. It is that intern, just like a regular internship program. You create an internship program and make sure that what you have to offer as far as experience is valuable, right? Like if it's a college student who's looking for social media experience, great. And there are, this generation or this new generation of teens and early 20-year-olds that still see the value in an internship for the experience. It's far in between, but you put it out. As a matter of fact, the website is called Handshake. I think it's handshake.com, if I'm not mistaken, or ed. I don't know. Just Google it, Handshake, and you can create an account and post your internship roles on there, and students around the country will apply, and they know what they're getting into. They know it's not a paid situation, but they're coming in for the experience and to bulk up their resume.
Because I think, again, a lot of poets are going to be thinking like, I'm already not making money from this. Why am I going to pay? Like, I think a lot of people are going to kind of have that mindset. I think a lot of people are also missing out on there's a whole lot of accounting and tax things that can work to your advantage. For instance, I am not a CPA. I'm not licensed to give any financial advice. There are advantages, like if you have kids that are younger and you get them working for you, there's tax advantages that can come with that. There are things like, for instance, write-offs and things like submission fees. Anything you're doing related to writing that you have to pay for, these are potential areas where you can view those as things like business expenses, write-offs, and things. So you can save a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, if you had to give like just some real quick like financial advice to a poet who's listening to us in this conversation right now, and they're kind of being like, this isn't realistic for me, what would your approach be to that? So
I'll be honest and transparent. What we're currently talking about right now, I would not suggest for a poet starting out.
Yes.
This conversation is for someone who has made the transformation from individual to entity, right? And even years beyond that, because you, the business owner, need to know how to do these things before you hire somebody. Because how will you onboard them? How will you train them if you've never done it yourself? Right. So all of what I've put out there for a position, I've done myself. I've grown a international brand from my phone. My phone, no one else's. I've drummed up business from my phone, or even going out into the street. And I was at the bank yesterday, and they're depositing a check from a client, and I spoke to the manager and said to him, hey, I see that you all are very connected into the community, because their bank turned into like a coffee shop. I was like, I've never seen this before. Yeah, Capital One. Capital One, they're getting into the creative office space. And so their banks are turning into like where you can rent or stay there and do your laptop work and things of that. I was like, okay, what is smart? You can get coffee and everything. It makes a lot of sense, right? So one of the tables had a puzzle on the table.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, all right, cool. So I said, in that regard, would you all be interested in either sponsoring or partnering with my company, The Poet Life, to bring a festival to this area? It gave Capital One business card, says call or email me. Let's set things up. We love things like that. Right. So it is doing the work remotely, like in your lab and in the room like this, or going out there and opening your mouth. That's the part that people miss, is the going out to talk to people and telling people who you are and what you do. Like, there's too many closeted poets. And I think the reason for that is because for too long, everybody, people and poets, have been saying that there's no money in poetry. So it's like, why invest in myself Why invest time, money, and effort into a craft that's not also serving me as well? Right. And so I get it, but the knowledge is out there now. It's out there now. And now that you know, you should do better. There's a quote or a cliche. If you know better, you do better. But that's actually false. It's actually, if you know better, you should do better, because we all know better, but we still do wrong. Like,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
but we should do better.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like you mentioned, we're ingrained into this idea of starving artists, and we actually get defensive about it in some ways. So this is hopefully a call out to people who are poets who maybe you haven't thought about a bit. You're really just focused on the writing itself right now, which is fine. But I think that let's also not keep pushing the narrative that
Mm.
you're poor because you're a poet. It's like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
your poetry isn't bringing you income because you're choosing not to let
Yeah.
it. You know?
Yeah. And you know, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. Like, and that has been the truth, to be honest, though, for centuries, that there's no money in poetry. And the reason that is because we've only known poetry to be a community. Right. And if you think of the word community, it is for people to come together and commune and fellowship, not to do business. You see what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
you think about your neighborhood, you live in a community, but nobody's making money in a community. The only people making money in a community is the landscapers or the plumbers. Like, you know, and in that regard, you live in a community, but you leave your community to go into an industry. Right. So that's where the money is. That's where the budgets are. There are no budgets in a community. The only budget in a community is to keep the community going and flowing. So you can't get rich off of open mic when there's $5 door charge.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
You can't charge them $500. They're not making $500.
Mhm.
Right. So it's just a matter of knowing where to go, and how to offer what you offer, but you have to offer something.
Mhm. Mhm. I think since you bring up the idea of the open mic, I think the open mic is you look at a lot of businesses, what they have, you have you have a something that's like your entryway to let people know about what you're doing, which
Mhm.
typically is something that it's a loss. Usually it's a loss. Like, it's not usually something you're gonna necessarily make lots of money from, but it's a doorway into the rest of what you're doing. Right. And I think an open mic, I think I see a lot of people starting open mics, and that's it. It's just the open mic. There's no other component. It's just the open mic, which is interesting because the open mic itself, some of them are able to generate a crowd. You're able to get people through the door, so you have an opportunity. People are becoming familiar with you. I think it's time to really consider next steps. I think the other thing you mentioned too is that historically, yeah, I mean, it wasn't possible to create a business out of poetry as easily. But it's
Yeah.
2023. There's so many tools now, even within the last like 5 years, that
Yeah.
suddenly it's very, very viable if you want it to be. Because you don't need everybody to be supporting you. You need to find your 1,000 people,
Right.
which is a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, for the open mic, I think what falls on deaf ears is creating an experience for people.
mhm,
Right.
mhm,
And not just creating space for release. That's great to start out. Give me a space so I can release. Right. But it's super important, if you're going to do this weekly or monthly, that you continuously enhance the experience. Right. You do a debriefing after each of them, send a survey out. How can we better present this open mic, right? Is it putting candles at the table next time around to create the ambiance? Is it for us to also add some decorations? But the biggest part about it is to not just make it for poets. You can't scale anything with just one set of people, right? We have to learn how to make our events, our poetry events, palatable for people who are not super poetry heads. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a skill and a knowledge base that you have to learn, but it's worth it, right? Because we getting mad at people outside of poetry for not treating poetry, for the greatness that it is, but we're not doing our due diligence to make the experience exciting for those who aren't really super poets.
There's so much to digest there.
Sure.
And I know there's a lot of people thinking about organizing open mics and things like that. I want to jump to a platform that I've seen you particularly active on, which is Skool.
Sure.
On Skool is something, it has a discussion board, it has like courses and things like that. If you're able to, feel free to share your screen so we could like take a look at that. But kind of walk us through, what was your thought process when you opened this up? What is Skool? What do people need to know about it?
Sure. So before I share it, I want to just kind of give the flow or the timeline of things. And ultimately, it is about creating a community around what you have to offer, not just putting out there and posting and then responding to comments or hoping you get comments. It is really being consistent with your offering, and to a point where people look forward to what you have to offer. That only comes through consistency, right? And so as you build that community, people are like, I want more, right? Or I just love this and thank you. And so your response to the thank you is to keep enhancing. Right. So I appreciate the thank yous and I appreciate them coming back and wanting more. And so I need to do my part and not just offer, but to enhance the experience within the community as it grows. So we went from doing daily lives on Instagram. Which we still do 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram, The Poet Life. But then I said, okay, cool. Same faces, same usernames in the live comments. Let's bring them to a Facebook group. That's where we transitioned to, right? And that was cool. We got up to 230 members in that Facebook group, and it was engaging and things of that nature. But again, I'm always about constant progression. And the Facebook group was just like one track mind. It was just a feed that you post and comment. It wasn't more than that, no DMs and things of that nature. And so I did the research and I said, there has to be a platform in 2023 where you can have your own social media community platform. And then I found several, one called Mighty Communities, Circle, others. But I went to YouTube and found several videos where they reviewed and compared these platforms. And ultimately I landed on Skool.com, Skool with a K. Share screen. Let's see, Skool. All right. So what's really awesome about, got a new member. Can you see what I'm looking at?
Yeah, we can see it. We're good.
All right, cool. Awesome. So I'm glad we're doing this. I like to be very practical and give, practical steps that people can actually implement. Right. So our school is growing. As you can see here, we have 124 members in just 2 weeks. Not everybody from the Facebook group has transitioned over yet, but let me accept this and approve. Oh, Dondi Springer, welcome. All right. So what's really awesome about school, it literally gives you your own Facebook-like platform. And also automatically you have your own app as well. That's huge. That's major, right? You not only have your desktop version of the community, but just like Facebook, you have your own app version as well. So, those two elements to get both of those in one, that is tremendously valuable, because we've been thinking about creating an app, and that would have cost thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Right. So, and months of work and all of that. Right. So, on the community tab, you have that feed that we're all used to. And we've gotten some responses from a lot of our members where they've said this is like better than Facebook because it cuts out all of the distractions from everything else. We get to focus on building our poetry business and fellowshipping with like-minded people, right? And so I've pinned a post that pretty much welcomes everybody, gives them the instructions on how to, move throughout the community, how to get started, and even offer the book that we have, the Poetry Business Challenge Workbook and Journal. But as you can see, that post has 18 comments, 15 likes, then I thought creatively in the community to create some ownership to where the members feel like they have ownership in this as well. So I just simply asked them to send in, DM me a photo of themselves, a testimonial about how they feel about the community and their social media, and each member gets their own invitation card. Right. So I jump on Canva. I created the template. Right. This is the first one. Right. Just to give them an example for what it looks like. Then I just replace my photo with their photo, replace my social media with theirs, and my testimonial with theirs. And now they are sharing these cards around the internet and basically being foot soldiers for the community. Right. And so you've built in a street team, if you will. So that's just an idea as well. So that's one feature. And as you can tell, people are, the members are just, this thing is turning into or having a life of its own. After you stand it up and get it started, it's just a beautiful thing. But also the classroom is like your own university, Poet Life University, right? And so I turned my online course into separate classes. I broke down the modules of my online course and started offering the modules as smaller classes. All right. And so they can take, services and signature experience, effectively pricing your services, Poetry Business Accelerator, right? So that in and of itself is value to them. But let me share with you before we get to the calendar. Here's the fun part about the community. It has a leaderboard that encourages engagement and interaction, right? There are 9 levels where you can name them yourself. I chose novice, inquirer, student. And the more you interact, the higher you go on the leaderboard, and you can unlock some classes. So when you come up to the level 3, the student, you get a free class to where you get to learn some more information and things of that nature. And it also gives you the analytics of, this past week, who won this past week, right? Sunday Jones, Joshua Clark, and Vanessa Allen, right? Who in the last 30 days, somewhat still the same names, but in a different order. And then of all time, right? So that encourages people to keep the community interactive. But also you can see the members and their all of their information, but as well as a calendar that says what's coming up next. Tomorrow we have a new members and Q&A Zoom call at noon, right? So I wanted to incorporate that. So if they have any questions on a weekly basis, we can answer those questions and we can come together in fellowship, right? So let me know if you, I don't want to keep on going if you got any questions.
No. This is great. This is great.
Cool.
I like the thing I liked the most about what you said was the fact that it starts to take on a life of its own. And that's the trickiest part with creating.
That's the tricky part. But, you know, on my end, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that the experience, again, the word experience, no matter what you have to offer, you have to ask yourself and you have to ask the people that you're serving, because I'm serving them. Does that make sense? As the person who created, I have to serve them because they can easily leave, you know, when they choose to, right? And they can leave and say, you know what, that was some trash, you know, and then that starts to spread, right? So it's same with an open mic. If it can start out great with high momentum and it's exciting first, but if you don't keep enhancing, it starts to die. Whatever isn't growing is dying. You understand what I'm saying? So I have no choice but to keep enhancing. And so this is like the about page, but it also serves as the what do you call it? The landing page, right? So I even you know, added those same graphics, as you can see. That's Ecelia, you know, and her testimonial. So when people come to the community to see what's going on, they can see a testimonial, they can see an invite, but it's also like a marketing tool as well. So the excitement in their words, in their faces, and it's just a beautiful thing, man. And I'm glad I found it. But again, the question is, are we willing to do the work and stay in a room like this and study? I'm never not studying on how to enhance the experience with my clients. And because we have two audiences. Our two audiences, our two avatars, if you will, are organizations and where we enhance their messaging and marketing through poetry and the arts. But through my choice to create legacy and grow and build the poetry industry, the poets are our target market, our avatar. So we have to speak to them, but also speak to the organizations. And that's a hard thing too. Speak to two different audiences and make sure both audiences aren't confused. Oh, are you talking to me or are you talking? So it's kind of hard in that regard, but we do our best to do so.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people starting off, I think a general piece of advice you see a lot is focus on one. And then as you get to the one, that's the other thing too, is like when you target a group, other people are going to find it too, you know? So like if I'm targeting a specific group of people, we can approach it from the open mic, you know, your open mic, you know, it's a platform for poets. However, they're probably going to they have people in their lives who are not poets who may want to come see them read and things like that, you know? And everyone needs, you know, can take some value from it, even if the primary thing is like, hey, we're going to give you a platform to talk, but everyone else is also going to have fun. You know, other people are going to interact with you that aren't your main target.
Yeah. No, there's many ways to liven up an open mic or whatever event, you know, between performances. There needs to be a DJ, you know, get people dancing and singing along to their favorite songs. The host or hostess needs to be funny and engaging and, you know how to work the crowd. And just the question that you got to ask yourself, if you weren't a poet, would you like this event?
And be honest.
But be honest, not just because it's yours. You know what I'm saying? And or even invite somebody that doesn't like poetry and invite them
Mhm,
and get their honest feedback.
mhm,
What can we do to make this event fun for you, even though
mhm,
you're not a poetry person at all?
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
This has been great. Yeah. Chris, other things that kind of come to mind just in terms of social media strategy, platforms you're using, goals moving forward?
Hmm. Yeah, man. I never not have an idea
Yeah.
that is on the horizon. And here's the thing: no matter what you create, no matter what you do, build the momentum and keep the momentum high. Right? If you're working on a project or an event, you should already know what the next one is. Right? Because when the event happens and everybody's like, man, this event was amazing. Their next question is, what's next? I want to come to the next one. And you don't want to let their excitement die and you miss out on the what is it called? It's called when the impulse
Mhm,
buy. You
mhm,
know, if you had t-shirts right now, I would buy them. Well, I got them in my trunk right now. So
mhm.
go ahead, right? So when you're at that event, thank y'all for coming. Y'all RSVP now for the next one. It's on this date. Right? So you already have momentum and a crowd of people that are excited and love the event that they just went to, and they said they want to go to the next one. So don't make them wait. Get that impulse buy into the next
Mhm,
thing, right? So always be
mhm,
working on two things: the thing that you're working on now, but also see the thing that you're working on now as a catalyst for something bigger or for something
mhm,
more.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. I think this kind of touches on James' point, who resonated with the if it's not growing, it's dying.
Yeah,
Facts,
James
and
has
that's what
been
we can
great,
do.
man. James
Yeah,
came in
facts.
somewhat nervous and things, and he's gung ho now. He's ready, and I love that. I love
Mhm.
working with movers. Like I
Yeah,
can work with movers, but if I got to drag you, I might leave you.
yeah, I hear that.
Yep,
Cool. Christoph, thank you so much for all the gems you dropped today. So many
sure.
good things. Hopefully, these are practical steps if you guys are starting to think about your writing as a business, as a career, something that can actually sustain you. I think these are some practical things to be considering. James, hang on for a bit. I'm going to close this out. We will see you guys. We'll actually be back tonight where we have our live stream. So, again, every Tuesday, right around 9:30, 9:45 p.m. Talking about some things related to poetry. So, hope to see you again later. Otherwise, hope you guys have a good day, have a good night, have a good afternoon. This again has been The Verses with the help of the Poet Life. Check them out. Check us out. We will see you all later.